Hi, I'm Derek Catron, the news editor at PhocusWire, and we're here in Barcelona at the Phocuswright conference. I'm joined today by Niko Karstikko, who's the co-founder and group CEO at Bob W., and Fran Milsom, founder and CEO of Nestor Group. Thank you for joining us today in the PhocusWire studios.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
So, as the world shifts toward more of a generative AI summaries to search questions instead of responding with links to keywords, I'm wondering how you set yourself up to be visible, to be found in this new, with these new parameters, and what changes you might be making to your content to make sure that your brands are popping up first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, with the, we're here at the show today to really learn about AI and to really implement it into our business. So I think we've done a lot of work on our data and our customer data platform and segmenting that. And now we're looking to create this personalized, amazing guest journey and utilizing AI to do that basically, so that we still got the fundamentals in our guest communication and in our guest stays, but we're adding a layer of sort of special sauce and personalization to really make it a special stay.
Okay.
Yeah. I think AI, like any technology, gives us the opportunity to, take advantage of this, and change the status quo. And for the short stay rental industry is in a perfect spot because we don't have the legacy of the hotel industry, and we can adapt and develop accordingly without the old strains, so to speak. So for us, we see it as technology, and more specifically in AI, and you talked about how people will find us, as a way of actually really staying true to the customer audience and being able to find who we are and what's the offering that we're doing, as this gray area between a hotel and a long-term apartment is really, extending and becoming commonplace in all its various formats and all its various use cases that the guest is looking for. So inevitably, technology is enabling that and allowing us to find the way.
Okay. I'm sure one way that people do find you is through third-party distributors, whether it be a Booking or an Airbnb, but I know you want to build more direct relationships, and you mentioned personalization. So what, if anything, are you doing to work toward that?
Yeah, sure. Again, it's all about taking those OTA bookings and really understanding those guests and transferring them into Nestor Stay bookings and Nestor Stay guests. So using our data and our learnings to find out who that Booking.com guest is, make sure we understand what they like and what they need and how we need to market to them, and then utilize AI to serve really specific messages to them to try and win that business over.
The challenge is we're, of course, Bob W., it represents a quality consolidation and a professionalization of the short stay rental space, a hybrid between the hotel and the Airbnb, to put it bluntly. And when you're there, you're not necessarily naturally falling into the right categorizations with the OTAs. And that's obviously something we're working on with them and with ourselves to really be able to differentiate us, because we have a unique offering, and we believe we are the answer to the sort of Airbnb generation that's growing up and looking for a professional answer. But that doesn't show in the OTAs. So that's something we're working on. And then the other part you mentioned on the OTAs, I think there's always this love-hate relationship in the hotel industry between that. But we actually see them as a partner. So it's a great source of new customers, a very cost-effective customer acquisition channel. And what we really measure our own success on is, can we turn those into loyal Bob W. customers?
Great. Okay. So I'm wondering if there's any plans for geographic expansion for you. Are we going to see you all in more countries, more continents, perhaps someday? Why don't you go first this time?
Sure thing. So today we're operating in 17 cities in 10 countries across Europe and UK. We've expanded a lot. We've gone through additional 7 countries in the last 18 months. Last year we grew revenues 3 times over. So we really have a supply and demand engine and an operation engine that works, and we're just copy-pasting that effectively. Now, there's a lot of space in this sector, and you can do that within the confines of a city. I mean, London's an endless opportunity almost. So we're trying to balance between depth in the market as well as horizontal coverage, as we are working to become Bob W becoming the brand that's associated with being in a category of one in this sort of new hybrid category of hospitality. So you will see Bob W in new cities. We will come to new markets, but we will also and really establish pan-European coverage beyond the 17 cities today. But we'll also, the other part will be adding depth to those markets and taking advantage of the existing structures, which means we're just even more lighter on our feet and faster to grow and an existing relationship with professional landlords, etc.
Okay, right. Fran?
Yeah, for us, I think we're playing a slightly different game. So we're very much niching in London and very specifically in certain areas of London. Just for, just in terms of operational efficiency, it works really well for us. We understand the market very well. We've got extremely good contacts in that market. We've got a group of investors who are actively purchasing buildings to feed into our model in that market. It's not to say we're not going to explore other opportunities. We were in Spain before pre-COVID. So I definitely think if the right opportunities come, we'll look to enter a new market. But we haven't got the same level of funding, I think, as Bob W. So we're playing a slightly different game.
The great news is the market is massive and there's room for the next Hilton and the Marriott and the next Hoxton, the next Ibis Group and the next Holiday Inn. So it's a good place to be at and there's a lot of good momentum. So I think we want to take advantage of that, us and Nestor and everybody else in the space.
Okay. Now, I know the short-term rental sector as a whole has been adapting to new regulations really across the globe. I'm not sure, is that any concern for your organizations? Or because I know if you have a hotel license, I guess it's not, it's not. But as you watch the market itself, how do you feel like this is going to play out?
Shall I go first? So we've got a bit of a hybrid model. So we have a hotel, we have serviced apartments with a correct license, and we have blocks of residential apartments. And really, we just need to be nimble and adapt to the regulations that comes through. And we've had to do that for 8 years. So in our we want to abide by all regulation. So in our residential block, we make sure we have 3-month+ stays only in that particular block. And then obviously in the serviced apartments and hotels, we can focus on the shorter stays. Yeah.
Are you encouraged maybe by what's happening in that it at least gives some consistency, whereas before it just seemed like it was almost so piecemeal what was happening?
I think it is still a bit piecemeal, if I'm honest. I'm seeing a lot of sort of discussions happening and not much actual regulation being put into play. But yeah, I'm encouraged by regulation. We want guidelines to stick to, and we want to grow our business within those guidelines. I think there's some great regulation coming through as well. So in the city, because office blocks are empty, it's really hard to sell office blocks or to lease office blocks. And the local council are making it really easy to change planning so that they can become serviced apartments. So there's some regulation changes or some eases that are really helping us find new stock as well.
Yeah, so for us, our business model is to make sure we stay on the right side of the legislation. We've all seen the headwinds that we see on a European level, on a country level, down to the city level. So we make sure that we are, whether that's hotel licenses or equivalents, that we are able to do our business, which is roughly speaking days, weeks, months, so 1 to 90 night range. What we also see is that the politicians are very slow to move, and the consumer demands. The consumer has evolved. However, the legislation's been very slow to evolve. We see this across the jurisdictions that we're getting at now. So whilst we personally, have really focused on making sure we're in the commercial properties and in the right kind of zoning. There's still a lot of outdated elements and a lot of quirks in most jurisdictions that are just out of date. So I mean, if there was a message is it's time for the politicians and more broadly this sector to really find its stride so that we can continue growing and giving the consumers what they want. And certainly empty office buildings in city centers are not bringing anybody anything.
Okay. But since you brought up empty office buildings, that was one of my questions. I wonder, what set of challenges does it bring if more of those are taken up by hospitality modes? And is there a saturation point for that?
I can go first. I mean, I think the short stay rental space is the by far fastest growing segment in hospitality. It's also a more flexible segment, as witnessed by the guys at Nestor and ours as well. We can go to sub-sized properties, 10, 20 unit plus properties, and make money on those. Unlike hotels who have rigid structures of, we need this kind of front desk and gym here and restaurant there. So that lends us better to the office conversions. And what you're seeing is that, what's stopping from the office conversions happening? Because at the end of the day, it's a question of supply and demand. Cities are missing people. They're not going to the offices. Therefore, the cafes are not full. The shops are not, people are not going out to the shops. So what's happening is basically this equilibrium is not working. Now, what's slowing that down? Well, I think first of all, in some countries, some legislation is just too slow to get those permitting across. We've seen changes in that, like we see in London or parts of London. The other issue has been an educative piece, that landlords don't necessarily understand what the costs and implications of changing from an office to short stay rentals. And then third is, of course, cost. And that's, again, depends a lot on the building, but you have practical issues, like if you've got a big square that works for offices, it doesn't work for rooms or apartments, and you got to put a big expensive atrium in the middle of it to make it work. And if that's but then again, because of real estate being in increasingly troubled waters, the math is starting to work out, and people's ability to assess if it makes sense are starting to work out. And then you're seeing professional, institutionalized players like us and like our dear colleagues who are being able to really satisfy and give comfort to the commercial landlord that, hey, we've got players that we can trust here for the long term.
That's it. Yeah, you see.
And just to touch on saturation a little bit, I think, focusing on the city in London where it's all the agents are trying to convert these offices into service departments. I think there will be a level of saturation there because a lot of players are trying to enter into that specific market where there are already quite a lot of stock already in that market, actually. However, the council's really backed that area, and they're bringing and opening up opportunities for new restaurants, new cafes, new activities and events that are happening in the city to convert it from a typically office, like Monday to Friday destination, to make it somewhere you'd go on the weekend as well. So we need to rely on local councils to really incentivize the area to change that area.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, so before we wrap up, I think I'm contractually obligated to talk about AI, because if we don't, it would be like everyone's talking about AI. So what are the best use cases that you found so far, and is there something that maybe you're most excited about that maybe you think is on the way?
I think our mission is to create a 5-star experience for every guest, every visit, and you just have the ability to take all of this data that you're collecting on a customer, if indeed you are, which we're very, very, very happily collecting, and then turn that into something actionable to really be able to crunch that number and really turn what we call personal recognition of each guest. So it's not just you're an important guest, but like you, and we understand your profile and your interests and your preferences, and then can automatically action them as well, so that we can have 2 people come to the same location, have 100 different variations to the experience. That, and then second being just good old tools, and just being an early adopter of those tools. Like, we're using a lot of AI-based tools, and we just suspect that the slow guys are going to catch on in 5 years. So for us, bring those efficiencies of that. And finally, if there's one to pull out, I mean, probably customer service, and that thanks to the large language models being able to utilize more automation when it comes to customer communications, which of course has a lot of pitfalls, because the moment your hotel experience or STR experience starts feeling like you're talking to an insurance chatbot as we know it from 2023 and earlier, then something goes awry pretty quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he took the words right out of my mouth, to be honest. But I think in terms of personalizing guest experience, there's a huge opportunity there to create an unbelievable guest experience. I think there's an opportunity to offer the right additional services to our guests. So to increase, the spend by our guests by offering exactly what they're looking for instead of bombarding them with lots of different things. And obviously marketing, being very personalized in the way we market to our potential guests to increase guest retention and loyalty as well. So, I mean, there's so many user cases for AI. Obviously, it's the most spoken word of this conference. But yeah, we're excited to jump on board, really.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you both for being here, and I hope you've had a wonderful time at the Phocuswright conference. It's been a pleasure having you and talking with you and learning more about your businesses. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thanks.
Great,
Thank you.
thanks.